feel the desperation, and I am here for all of it because Donald Trump will lose, and the rule of law and all of these judges, left, right, and center will win the day on this one. I'm becoming more confident of that every single day watching Trump's desperation.
Hi, totally unnecessary federal prosecutor for 30 years. How are you?
Good morning, Steph. Yeah, I wonder what the heck I was doing over the past 30 years enforcing the rule of law and all.
I mean, as we said yesterday, too, Glenn, they wanted this court.
Right.
Right? This is like a Trump appointee. Now he's turned on what do you call it? The Federalist Society, saying it's their fault for the judges that he appointed that have ruled against him, and a Reagan appointee. So this is...
Can anybody feel the desperation, Steph? I don't even think he can fool the gullible anymore when he says, all of these Ronald Reagan appointed judges and George H.W. appointed judges and George W. Bush appointed judges and Trump appointed judges, they're all just radical left lunatics. Right. They don't know what they're doing. I mean, you feel the desperation, and I am here for all of it because Donald Trump will lose, and the rule of law and all of these judges, left, right, and center will win the day on this one. I'm becoming more confident of that every single day watching Trump's desperation.
Yeah, okay, so talk to us, hold please. Breaking news, hold on. Uh-oh. That's a lot of Glenn Stack. Okay. So, a federal appeals judge yesterday granted the Trump administration's request to temporarily pause a lower court ruling that struck down most of Trump's tariffs. The Trump administration earlier had told the U.S. Court of Appeals that it would seek emergency relief from the Supreme Court as soon as today if the tariff ruling was not quickly put on pause. So the pause gives the Trump administration some breathing room as it prepares to argue that the law empowers the president to unilaterally launch a global tariff regime. So the panel obviously rejected that ruling, which invalidated all of Trump's reciprocal tariffs and other duties. So as usual with the Trump, now what? Right?
Yeah, so now what? First of all, the reason the three-judge panel temporarily paused the ruling saying these tariffs are unlawful and unconstitutional, which I do think is where the Supreme Court will ultimately come down. But the reason they paused it is because the Trump administration actually said, you know what? If we're wrong, we will repay, we will make whole all of the business folks that are presently getting screwed over by these tariffs. That is an absurd proposition for the federal government for a couple of reasons. First of all, it's almost an acknowledgement that what they're doing is wrong. But don't worry, we're going to make it right by paying off all the people we are presently harming, which is why the three-judge panel said, well, I guess there's no harm, no irreparable harm, because he's going to repay all these business people for having to pay out on these unconstitutional tariffs. But guess what they will not be doing? They will not be making the consumers whole who have suffered the consequences because these businessmen and women had to hike up the prices to cover these unconstitutional tariffs. I know there's a lot to unpack there, Steph, but at the end of the day, I believe Trump will lose this argument, including in front of the Supreme Court. And I think all of this, again, is a sign of extreme desperation. And, like the walls really are closing in on these rats. And I think they're going to get their comeuppance.
Well, speaking of this big bag of rats, so Trump laid into the Conservative Federalist Society and its quote-unquote sleazebag chairman of the board, Leonard Leo, accusing him of probably hating America. Oh, my God. First of all, Leo's responsible for, like a third of the Supreme Court. Neil Gorsuch, Kavanaugh, Amy Coney Barrett. I mean... So he said, I was new to Washington. It was suggested I use the Federalist Society. I did so, but then realized they were under the thumb of a real sleaze.
Oh, talk about biting the hand that feeds you. And Leonard Leo, I'm no fan, but he ain't a Donald Trump flunky. He's Donald Trump's boss, one of many. And this is not going to serve Donald Trump well. I mean, Donald Trump is all miscalculation all the time, and it's beginning to catch up with him, Steph. You can see it.
On every front, absolutely. Well, so we played Caroline Leavitt for you. I apologize. We always hurt the ones we love the most. But she said, as we played, the Supreme Court should intervene. She said there's a troubling and dangerous trends of unelected judges inserting themselves. First of all judges are not elected; they're appointed. Some of them by Donald Trump, obviously. America cannot function if President Trump or any other president has their sensitive diplomatic or trade negotiations railroaded, which is what they call anything they disagree with, by activist judges. Ultimately, I love that a Trump-appointed judge is an activist judge. Okay. Ultimately, the Supreme Court must put an end to this for the sake of our Constitution. Don't you love that degree of gaslighting?
They're upholding the Constitution, which somehow does violence and damage to the Constitution. This is all doublespeak. This is, Orwellian 1984 garbage that's being spewed out by whatever her name is. And again, I don't even think they're fooling the gullible. At least some of the gullible are peeling away. They're like, okay, we kind of got screwed by the build a wall and Mexico will pay for it. We kind of got screwed about, this was a rigged election and Trump will be installed as president yet again instead of Joe Biden. But even the gullible are now, but what does he take us for?
Right.
So I really, listen, this will not serve him well before the federal court, trial court judges, before the District Court of Appeal judges, before the Supreme Court judges, and certainly not for the billionaire Republican oligarch benefactors like Leonard Leo and others. So again, the desperation is what we need to focus on.
Oh, hey there, it's Stephanie Miller. If you're like me and you love sharp political insight, pointy, you like it pointy and sharp, bold opinions, and a touch of humor to make sense of these crazy times, have I got some fantastic news for you. The Political Voices Network is now on Substack. This is your new go-to for the best in independent media. We're talking about my show streaming daily with episodes on demand, the fearless of journalism of Brian Karem, the brilliant side-splitting satire of John Fugelsang, the unrelenting working class advocacy of Rick Smith, and so much more. Here's the best part. Subscribing is so easy. You can join for free or go to the extra mile. Support these incredible independent voices by signing up for a full subscription starting at just $8. You'll get access to exclusive content, behind-the-scenes insights, and a chance to directly fuel fearless, unfiltered media. So what are you waiting for? Head on over to politicalvoicesnetwork.com. Hit that subscribe button and become part of the movement keeping truth alive in an era of corporate media overload. Every subscription helps, especially yours. One more time, that is politicalvoicesnetwork.com. Sign up now. Do it.